Hi everyone, this is Fumi. Welcome back to the GFG Podcast. Thank you for your patience. We've decided to make an executive decision to get rid of the visuals just because it was taking a little too long to edit, which is ironic because I understand this one doesn't have visuals. Look, we're working out the kinks here. This episode is a lot more conversational. Let us know what you think about it. And if you want to support us, feel free to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit like, comment down below what you think. If you know any of the three of us, you can probably guess how we're going to feel about AI, but yeah, let us know your thoughts and enjoy the episode.
Hey guys, welcome back to the GFG Podcast. This is Jem, and I'm here today with Fumi and Garrett after a little field trip to Bergdorf's, and we just wanted to thank you guys for tuning in. So today we have some really interesting topics planned. I don't know if you guys want to start.
Anyways. You really had to lock in for that.
I noticed that too. Yeah, you were like, that was like locked in, Gem.
Locked in.
Okay. Yeah, so what are we talking about?
We're
talking
talking
AI
about
and fashion.
Yes.
It kind of relates to what we were talking about last time, but we didn't even get to really fully talk about it last time or the issues of it last time, so here we are.
We wanted to talk about AI and fashion because obviously it's a pretty hot topic, and I feel like there is a lot of new projects that are kind of using this, and I was sort of thinking about, where have I seen this before? There's tons of fashion tech companies, many of whom I've met these people, and they'll try to give me their card and no, they're like, oh my god, you're a designer, you should check out our software that uses generative AI to help you design faster. You just type your prompt. And I was like, well, I actually know how to design, so
I'm a real designer, so
Wait, when were you approached with this?
Fumi, they're everywhere. You just have to be
Really?
out there. Yeah.
No, wait, no. Are they DMing you or is this
No,
in
in
person?
person, yeah.
Jem's on the ground.
I'm on the
Yeah,
ground. I'm in these
I forget.
streets. Don't forget, I be on 7th Ave,
Yeah.
running up and down.
She's in the
That's
garment
true.
district. Bitch.
If you see a girl and she's in the garment district, it's probably Gem.
Yeah, every girl in the garment district is Jem. Anyways.
She's every woman.
The one that I thought about at top of mind was Norma Kamali, which also really relates to a previous thing that we talked about how creative directors, maybe they should just when they're done, maybe the brand should just be dead. Maybe we should just let it die. But Norma Kamali has this different idea where she wants to immortalize her design ethos, and she's working with this company called Maison Meta. Terrifying fucking name.
Yeah.
It's like Silicon Valley, but trying to be French. I don't know. It's horrifying to me. But, I guess they're trying to do something novel and interesting, and they say.
Emphasis on trying.
Yeah, emphasis on trying. But, I don't know. I just don't really get it. She's done a bunch of interviews where she's, emphasized, I don't want this to replace my successor. It's more about continuity of the brand. But it's it reminds me of this thing that I was reading recently about Black Mountain College. And so there's Annie Albers and Joseph Albers are doing an interview, and they're telling the historian who's writing the book, he's like, don't be a historian and create facts from these interviews, create actual facts. And then he's talking about that, and he's like, the difference is that with actual facts, there's acting. You have to act. You have to put yourself into it. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like with an AI, no matter how much factual information you feed into it, no matter how much information you're giving it, how is it ever possible to insert, creative will?
Yeah, it's a blender of what exists. Mm-hmm. It's not really too much.
Yeah.
This is, not really fashion related, but it just reminded me of in high school in one of my philosophy classes we talked about basically is anything does anything exist that hasn't existed? And like you can think of anything, and it's just combinations of ideas. And I mean that's like anything. This is just unrelated. This is just what I thought of. But that's kind of how I think about like AI is like just a jumbled mess of like things that already exist, because you're not going to be able to come up with something that like does. I mean, you could come up with something that doesn't exist, but it still has to basically follow the rules, or at the end of the day, like making it has to follow the rules of like something that can exist. So you can think of, you know, gold Norma Kamali dress, and it's gonna be just a jumbled mess of like facts. I don't know, like
It just
something that already is there.
It follows everything
way.
that has already existed in different combinations, and it's formulaic. I mean, that's what AI is, and we are teaching it, so it can't create something completely new, and that's what we need designers for. So I don't understand
it's like
the
push.
push.
There's not going to be any direction, because at the end, like, you would still need someone directing it,
Exactly.
because it in itself it can't create a direction.
Also,
it can only just create something
what
that
a
already
waste.
existed.
It's like we have this, amazing invention of AI, and it can do all this like data entry for us and things that we genuinely don't want to do as artists. And then the first thing people are thinking of is, oh, how can this benefit the design process? I mean, I guess it's good that we're thinking about it that way, but it's taking the reins too hard now, I think.
To be honest, I don't think that the people who are making it are artists. They're like,
well, okay, yes.
They're
Sorry,
like tech,
back to episode 2.
Like they're tech bros who are like so like thirsty to have any sort of like creative juice, and they like they don't have sauce, and so they don't know what it's like to have sauce.
Oh my god.
They're gonna add their little salt and pepper to the sauce. Like, I don't know.
I don't even know if it's like
Barely
that.
even that, but I don't know. I feel like people like Norma Kamali. I'm like, one, I'm not like so familiar with her work, but in general, I'm like, that's kind of bold for you to be like, yeah, I need to be immortalized. One, because if you were being immortalized, you would have done it. Like, you would have been immortalized by like the history you created, and if you didn't make a history interesting enough to be immortalized, like, why are you trying to do it through AI? But that's like my first thought. But my second one is like, why couldn't you focus on like teaching new designers, younger designers, like really putting your time and effort into educating people, because it's not about your like history and your immortality. It should be the immortality of good design, the mortality of good creation.
Rei Kawakubo, when she was asked, how would you like to be remembered, she said, I would like to be forgotten, which I think is profound, and maybe Norma Kamali could take some notes.
Norma Kamali, you're a bit... I'm just kidding. I have no qualms with her, and honestly, I don't know, like, enough. I know she has, like, things that she's known for, but it's like, yeah, you're known for those things. Like, that is kind of what exists.
Yeah.
Like, that's what your name is immortal for, is like, you know, these sleeping bag coats and like these type of things where like, I'm sorry, but you don't need... I think of her in the same group of like Diane von Furstenberg, where it's like you kind of have your thing that you're known for, and that's what you're known for. Everyone knows that, and everyone is going to keep knowing that because it's like in history books. And you don't have to continue to be like, well, I think I need to make another one so I can really secure my spot. Like, girl, we get it.
I mean, to be honest, there is such a thing as like making something immortal in fashion in a very formalistic way, and that's intellectual property.
Yeah.
And I think we would be remiss to not, bring that up. And like, that is a lot of what's motivating the AI stuff, is that, you can generate like a whole bunch of garbage, and if you have the liquidity to like afford you know, the IP lawyers and whatever, you can just like, you know, you make a contract for it and then like you like own it.
Which is whack.
Yeah.
Like totally whack because
whack.
It's just, it's gonna grab from things outside of your own like.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
I just don't see. I understand like the need for like intellectual property stuff in terms of fashion because I think there's some things that it's like you've created like and like there's certain I know like I think it was like V&A did that a lot. She basically made patents for her own designs. Who? V&A, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I don't know if she made patents.
I don't remember.
I mean,
I think so. I don't know. I've seen different stuff.
Maybe, yeah.
But she would have like designs that basically like she patented. There was some older designer that did that, and she patented a lot of her stuff. But it was but that was like the economy of like fashion at that time of like you know, faster fashion was you know designs, and then she could sell them and have exclusive rights to it. But now it's like if you're trying to grab from anywhere and everywhere through AI and then create some form of intellectual property with that, like that you own, it's like, well, do you own it because did you own anything you got it from?
Right.
Like, yeah, you can maybe own the like AI thing, but you don't own the color or this or that. I mean,
but in theory, all fashion, like if you really want to get in the weeds, like all fashion is taking inspiration from everything.
Completely different though.
But it is completely different because it's not taking in like input, like source input to output. Yeah. Like it's so linear because I don't know. I think that we forget that anything that is digital based and computer based is working off binary code.
Yeah.
And so of course we're going to end up in a society with a lot of polarity and a lot of black and white thinking, and it's just like the computer can't think that way. It's like literally the dumbest person in the world can be more creative than any computer.
Yeah.
And that's what's the most grating to me, I think, is that is that people don't want to like recognize the magic in that. It's not so much about like, oh, we overvalue AI. It's that like, why have we gotten to a point where we devalue creation to such an extent?
I think there's a race in terms of like who's going to be the first one to really utilize AI in a really revolutionary way. But AI itself is just like a very masterful copy and paste in many ways. And so it's really not that interesting.
Yeah.
And people people are kind of desperate to make it interesting and to utilize it in an interesting way that like really maybe changes the world, because we've never had this kind of, I guess, progress until now in terms of like people utilizing AI. And so I think, I don't know, we're just giving it too much power right now.
Yeah.
They just need to figure out how to like, I just feel like you need to figure out how to use, like you were saying for me, like use AI in an actually like profitable way.
Yeah.
If it's gonna be, you can't afford to have a whole show, like you could still maybe, and I'm not even saying I want this, but you could do something with AI to present your clothing in an interesting way, but you still created that thing, but you're trying to use AI to create clothing and create creativity, and it's like you just can't do that, because I don't think all creativity exists in emotion. Like, I think you can have creativity outside of like this emotional toil, and like it doesn't have to come out of like hurt or extreme joy, but I do think it's so unique to us. Like I just think it's very unique where like the computer can't necessarily be taught emotion.
I think also not enough people are talking about how maybe the interest in utilizing AI so heavily, especially during the design process, is out of like a corporate greed, where a lot of these big companies would rather not have to pay for a genuinely brilliant designer if they can generate a designer on their computers, and obviously, like, we're skeptical and we think it'll never work. We haven't seen it work yet, really.
Because
Like,
AI is still so, like, I don't know. I feel like it's still in its, like,
infancy.
yeah, it's been around for a while, but it still feels very, like, it can't even get a hand right. I'm sorry. Like,
It's so true.
it can't get movement right on certain things. So how is it going to make this thing better?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Obviously, I think there's going to be a certain point where it can do that, but right now, and I do understand, like, if people aren't using AI, like, it's never going to get, like, better, but my question is, like, does it need to get better? In certain ways, I don't think it needs to get better at, copying a form of humanity. Like, I don't think it does, but I don't know. It's like a back and forth. It's like, use it for the right things so it can progress in certain ways.
Yeah.
But also question why you want it to progress a certain way.
My optimistic take, though, is that if AI gets to a point where it's, like, almost flawless, then it would really force people to, just make things that are so obviously not AI, just
Like
brilliantly, like, creative. Like,
yeah.
and I think that could be kind of interesting. That's my optimistic take, though.
I think we kind of already do see that a bit with,
Yeah.
like, like the brands that are more focused on craftsmanship. I mean, even, like, the obvious examples, like Loewe, like, I don't think that people would find that stuff so fascinating if base levels of, if, like, knowledge of craftsmanship was more common. It's just, it seems extraordinary because we don't see it a lot. So I feel like that reaction is already sort of, like, around, at least in terms of, like, aesthetics.
I also think there's a
So-
sense of humor in, like, Loewe's design sometimes.
Yeah.
And fortunately, as of right now, AI can't really have a sense of humor the same way we do.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting, too.
JW Anderson, like those clay
hoodies.
pieces.
Yeah.
Tuba actually saw them the other day, and she
Oh.
was saying that there's, like, for the shorts, there's actually, like, kind of like a pull-on panty
Ooh.
inside
Oh.
that, like, you can actually wear them.
Really?
Kind of. Yeah.
Interesting.
But
That's crazy. How do
so
you
I think
sit?
I have no idea, but I think of pieces like that, and, like, it's something that makes us question its reality, and I think there is a very strong. I also think because there's a lot of people, like, in our position where there's hugely questioning, like, what can AI do, what should AI do.
Yeah.
That there is definitely a push for, like, things that are real to almost feel so unreal that you have to question it.
Yeah.
And, like, those things are,
Yeah.
like, based in craftsmanship and based in, like, how they're made and how they're produced, and I don't know, like, even what they look like. It's like you could put that in to an AI thing and say, clay hoodie, and it could look like anything, but you're not going to be able to feel it, touch it. Like, you may get the idea for it, but
No
you're not
sense of
gonna-
materiality.
But yeah, you can't necessarily even get what the inside is gonna look like. You would have no idea that there's, like, a panty on the inside to keep it up, to keep
Yeah.
it, like, to keep it wearable. So certain things, I'm like, AI just doesn't have the capacity to do right now. Not to say it will never have the capacity, but I do think there's an interesting push. Even, like, Loewe, when they did that, like, pixel hoodie and pixel stuff, like, that felt like a very direct
Yeah.
kind of, like, that collection was interesting because I think that one had, like, the flower shoes and, like, flower tops and stuff, so it felt like a very interesting, like, digital world versus real world. But even those tops, it's like that wasn't a real flower, but it looked so real. You had to be like, oh, like, what is that?
Yeah.
It felt like a person thought of those, though. Like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
pixel. It's just so, like, tongue-in-cheek and kind of funny, but also a little bit nostalgic, that
Yeah.
it just felt like a person was behind that. It's really hard to explain, like, the difference
Yeah.
between an AI coming up with an idea and, like, a person coming up with an idea.
Because I don't even know, like, how would AI
But-
come up with
Yeah,
good ideas
exactly.
like that? Like, unless you wanted to, generally make, like, I think
I mean, I
Helena
guess
Estrada did it for like their like prints to kind of combine.
I was
all of their
gonna
stuff.
bring that up.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like that's a decent way to use AI, but that still was in this kind of almost questioning AI's use.
But they also had to curate that a lot.
Yeah, you have to go through and edit.
Yeah.
And you have to really understand your own, and that's putting in your own work.
That is designing.
It's like you're doing a lot of back and forth work
Like you're
with
like
AI.
controlling it, basically.
Where you're basically editing everything down to like, okay, what are we actually going to use here? Because there's a ton of shit ideas. Like, you might be able to get one good picture out of the like 20 that it makes, but you're having to do a lot of work still. And I don't think it's good enough to replicate like our own choosing.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna say the thing about like, if you generate enough examples, like if you make a prompt and you generate it 200 times and then you pick 10 out of the 200, like if you throw shit at the wall enough times, eventually something is gonna stick, right? But you're the one that has to determine that. And I don't know, I guess like my issue with like the use of it and why I don't personally use it is because I think that feeding it, I guess, is generating like content pollution. And I know that sounds like so just like crazy, like girl, shut the fuck up. But like, you know, there's like, think about like misinformation on the internet, like the fact that Google search is now unusable. I can't find any answer to any question. I have to be like, how do I cook the pasta and make it soft? Reddit. And like that's
Reddit is like the only place. But now they have like the AI, the Google like AI answers, and I swear those are completely not helpful.
They're worse.
Yeah, those are worse.
It's just a bunch of like random parts from different things, and sometimes it can lead you to a decent answer. But I would still rather go into something that's written by a person and read what they said about, you know, borax no slime, or no slime no borax. Like that was random, but you know, like. There's certain things where I'm like, okay, you can kind of trust it, but if you trust it fully, like... But I'm sorry, but these old people have no idea that they're sharing AI images on their Facebook.
Yeah.
It completely... It just changes the idea of information and content because, you know, information... Our assumption is that information that we find is based off of experience. A computer doesn't have experience, like
except from what's been put in.
Yeah,
and like the millions of things that it has.
But it's not like a temporal experience. It's like a yes/no experience. Like it's like it exists or doesn't exist. Retrieve or doesn't retrieve. It's not alive. And I just
differentiate like the truth of things too. Necessarily. It can only the only truth that kind of exists within it is like the amount of time something is said. But I mean, there's some things where you can look it up and there's 3 articles and they're all wrong. Or, you know, like 3 articles but they're all super outdated. Does that make that right because the 3 things say the same thing? Not necessarily. It just means that they're outdated information.
And I also think that like another reason why I'm very skeptical is because I see this very much in parallel with the push for financialization in fashion in like the early 2000s because they sort of figured out how to use these financial instruments in a way that is extremely profitable using copyright, intellectual property, logomania, you know, make $1 bajillion off fragrances, licensing, handbags. And then it seems like a winning formula, right? But then now we have fashion that's completely... you know, deterritorialized in the sense that, like, it's a New York designer, but who the fuck knows where that shit is made or where the fabric came from?
Right.
Who knows how to make it? And I just feel like bringing in technology is going to be the same process as bringing in finance. It's like taking something that is more scientific and more, I don't know. I don't even want to say it's rationalistic. It's more like it's like empirical, you know, it's just raw numbers. And I just
thank you for that.
I don't think that it's I don't think that it's gonna bode well, basically. I just think that we're gonna get further away from materiality in fashion.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I don't think, no matter how good it looks, if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't live with you, I don't think that's good fashion.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know how to make shit.
I'd be really curious to see what Lee Alexander McQueen would do with AI if he was alive. Because I feel like he started incorporating more technology, especially for Plato's Atlantis.
Yeah.
And so I feel like he would be smart enough to find a way to utilize AI in a
I think
really
he's funny
creative...
enough.
Yeah, funny enough.
I think he has a sense of humor. That's the thing that's important. Is that
But he would still be behind it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is that
he would have something to say.
Any
'cause
designer could use AI to their advantage in a funny, kind of ironic way, and in a useful way. But like, because I was thinking about McQueen too, and I was thinking like, in terms of AI, you know, you could maybe find out how to make a cut better for a specific person. You know, you might be able to. But then I thought about it. I was like, well, no, I really don't think so. Like, maybe you could find the best way to cut something through the use of AI. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. But then I thought about, like, the extreme knowledge of people like Lee, or, you know, however much you want to like him or hate him, like John Galliano. Like, people who have worn these designers who know how to dress a body, they were always amazed at how well they could dress a body, like, off the top of their head. People said that, like, Lee would just basically cut something once and that would be it. And he just knew instinctually how that was going to work on someone's body. And I think that is something that, like, yeah, you could maybe optimize your cuts for blah, blah, blah. Or you might, I don't know, I think some places try to optimize it in, like, sustainability. And I think certain things like that, of like, oh, I need to figure out how I can cut this piece to make these pieces in the absolute best way with the least amount of, like, scraps. That could be a great use of AI, but, like, when I think
But that's
of, like,
not AI, I think.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I don't think that's AI. I think that would be, like, that technology already exists.
Yeah.
Like, if you've ever worked with like a production technology, like a cutting software program already does that, like, figures out ways to maximize, like, fabric utilization.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, the places where fast fashion is produced, like, if we're talking about technology, like, they have made amazing technological advancements in terms of, like, just-in-time production, fabric utilization, because they're not wasting any money, they're maximizing profit. Like, if there's
like where that's got us. That's why it's, like, so...
Is that good? Like, is it good to be efficient? I don't know.
That's why I always think, like, you know, who cares about efficiency? It's about quality. Because once you start optimizing everything and making the most money out of everything, it's like, this is what leads people to die. This is what leads people to absolutely not want to, like, live, because I'm sorry, I don't want to be ruled by optimization. Like, no, I want to laze on the couch. I want to make something on my own time, and sometimes creativity takes time. Like, it can take years and years to make your magnum opus, or, you know, whatever, but I don't know, it just seems like a lazy way out of, you know, oh, you want to produce a creative collection. Well, what if you don't need to?
You can't streamline, like, creativity, but you can't streamline genius either. Like, I feel like all these people are trying to recreate, like, brilliant, you know, designs, and they think, like, they can Frankenstein it, but it's impossible.
People should realize they're not geniuses.
Yeah, but AI is truly making people feel like geniuses, and that's also kind of scary.
Maybe because it's so fucking dumb that they...
They're like, I can lord over this AI. Like,
yeah, that's actually kind of been happening.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. We have a few more coming soon, and maybe a future guest. Who knows? The possibilities are endless. Thank you guys so much for posting about us, talking about us, sharing any podcast episode to your friends. We really appreciate it. We do this for the community, and it's just fun. So thank you guys again. See you in the next episode. Bye.